This interview with Big Jay Oakerson is brought to you by not Legion of Skanks, which is his podcast, but Legion of Tanks.
Tank America. It's in Melbourne. It's a place where you can go and literally drive and learn how to drive real tanks.
I had somebody email me and said they're not real tanks. They are. They're British. They were actual British issued tanks, like real. Yeah. It's a real tank.
Yeah, 100% real. I mean,
and you will get to drive it. Tom got to drive it both with you can drive it open or you can do combat loaded, which is like where they close you in, as if you were taking gunfire.
Yeah,
it's friggin' amazing, dude.
And they have this Tom and Dan package, and for anybody listening looking for a good gift for their husband or son or wife, if she's into tanks or whatever, we have this Tom and Dan package. You have to call. Go to tankamerica.com and just find the phone number and give them a call and say you want the Tom and Dan package. But it's you and 4 of your friends. You get to go through the whole tank experience, and you get to drive the tank with combat ready or the hatch down.
Combat lock. They call it. You can go through the mud pit. You can go through the obstacle course. There's a tire run. You can jump a car.
You crush a car at the end. They give you a little emblem. I know we did it. And,
they give you a little keepsake of the car that you absolutely destroyed.
And if you want to, they have a realistic, it's combat laser tag. I mean, literally, there's police organizations that train there.
Yeah,
but
it's
indoors,
like
air conditioned.
Real tactical laser tag where you can go in there. All the guns that you'll be using
have recoil, CO2 recoil.
Yeah, I mean, and they're the exact weight of the actual gun that you'd be using. It's decorated almost. I mean, it's imagine like a Halloween Horror Nights house that looks like the real thing, but imagine they put you, they drop you dead in the middle of like Saudi Arabia, and you got to fight your way out. It's awesome.
And so with the Tom and Dan package, you get to do all that, and it's $100 off the normal cost, and you get to come in and watch a show on Friday. So if you know someone that's that would like that kind of thing and that's into our show, it's a perfect gift because you get the tanks and all that comes with Tank America, and you get to come in and watch a show. So check them out online. You can see it all at tankamerica.com. With us in studio, I know we missed this gentleman last time he came to town.
We did indeed.
I think we were on our cruise or something.
No. I think he got sick. Didn't you get sick last time you were here?
Gout.
You had a gout?
Yeah.
Don't scream that.
That's the king's disease, right?
Yeah.
That means that's good living.
I guess so. It was too much meat, I guess, or something.
The meat. I've always wanted gout.
Yeah, I know.
You sure don't.
Is it's a joint swelling thing, right?
It's bad, yeah. Just the right toe, only right here. It's amazing how shut down this will do for you.
And it's just like extreme pain?
Yeah.
God damn.
From meat.
It was funny. I was here with Kurt Metzger last time, who's a hilarious comic, and we went. The idea of what it is, it's uric acid that builds up in like a joint.
Yeah.
And it's inside, so there's nothing you can do. There's no relief for it at all, which is awful. And, he woke up in the morning to go do press with me.
Yeah.
And then we go out and do the first show, and I was like, I don't think I'm going to make it. I have to go to like an Urgent Center and get like a steroid shot or something, which I did. But I remember hearing him describing it to someone on the phone. He was like, we're at an Urgent Center right now. I guess Jay has piss ankles or something.
His toe hurts.
That's a funny way. He's got piss ankles. I don't know. Either way, we're sitting here.
Well, Big Jay Oakerson's here. And he's
2 shows tonight, 2 shows tomorrow,
Yes,
nothing
indeed.
on Sunday. If you can show up on Sunday, but you won't find him there.
You can come. I won't be there.
Yeah. So, Jay, we since it's the first time we've had you in, kind of want to talk to you about, just how you got your start as a stand-up. And I know, I know
hopefully during some point during the interview, he'll sing Music of the Night, and then we can talk about hookers. That shit was funny as fuck, man.
That was making me laugh.
You actually sing quite well.
It was funny. Well, our DJ Lou, our engineer, man, knows how to throw that reverb on at the right time. But it's so funny. I love, you guys are radio a long, long time, too. So it's so funny sometimes. It makes me, when people get upset or annoyed at something you're doing on radio, it finally makes me understand trolling. It's made me less angry about it when it happens, because the fueling for that stuff is when someone goes, dude, I'm just trying to enjoy like a radio show. Like you got to stop singing "Fan of the Op," but there's 100 other people after that are like so funny when you do that. So it's like it's just funny to play the people that hate it.
Yeah.
And if you don't know what I'm talking about, you can download it just like I did. The Bonfire. It's on Sirius XM.
Yeah,
and it's on the Comedy Central channel.
Yeah.
And they do like a 20-minute podcast. It's really good. It's an awesome thing for a commute. You just pop that thing on, you get like some best of. So it's
it's best of the week. My girlfriend put that all together.
Oh, dig it.
Christine, yeah. She's on the show too.
Yeah. She did a really nice job. The way you guys curate it with like another host, I'm blanking on the guy's name. I apologize. Yeah.
Dan
Oh
Soder.
no, I mean the guy that was hosting the best of. Is it Black?
Black Lou maybe or
Black,
Jacob.
I think it was Black Lou.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it was just really, really well done. But anyway, I didn't mean to hijack your origin story. But
here's the thing. Like, because we came from radio, terrestrial radio. We Daniel did it for 15 years.
More than that.
I did it for a decade before we transferred into podcasting. Actually, all those trash bags we're not hobos. We have our 10-year anniversary event tomorrow.
Yeah, we've been podcasting for 10 years. It's fucking crazy. Like
that is crazy, especially in it's only been like. That's about the life of podcasting.
Well, they say, I guess they claim, the old timers say like 04, 05, so we were 09,
Yeah, sure. If you're going to go back to the Mark Maron, The Godfather.
Yeah. But,
back when everybody thought it was a nonsensical medium.
Yeah, they thought it was fucking stupid.
Oh, yeah, believe me. They're
coming for us, though, don't worry.
I know.
Podcast, they're coming for us, for sure,
Well, what's funny is that when we started, we used to work for Clear Channel, now iHeart. But when back in 09, they didn't even know. They're like, Podnest, do whatever you want. Like, we asked permission by like higher ups. They're like, I don't give a shit. Like, what are you playing radio in your house? Or who cares? Then all of a sudden now, like, they're all into like podcast. Like, we have to do it. And then, but they,
Well, you say like radio shows now put out a podcast version.
Oh yeah, they
always.
have to. They're mandated by the
Yeah.
company. But going back to because you're a big fan of radio and that kind of medium, and going back to trolling, I tell Daniel all the time, because what changed for like us is when we were on terrestrial radio, you were able to kind of troll, or at least put out shit that would piss people off, because you would have listeners that weren't necessarily in line with your line of thinking.
You'd have your scanners, you'd have your people that were popping in for podcasts. It's a captive audience. Everybody wants to listen to this.
They're seeking
it out.
Yeah,
it's a big difference.
So there is that. I do miss that time when you used to be able to say
you
shit
just miss
and push people's buttons.
old ladies.
You push people's buttons.
With some old lady.
And,
very much so. True. It's also because that's why I said the fun thing about, especially about Sirius XM. We're not beholden to them in any way. Where it's like, I guess if we got fired, we would turn the show into a podcast, and I'm sure bring most of the fans over. Maybe even like in some weird way get more revenue from it. But there is something great about, you said, with terrestrial and Sirius XM, that you get a new car, you're thumbing through the channels, and you discover it's opened up a lot of new fans like that, which I do think is neat. That's really cool, like finding that, and then it drives them to the podcast, whether it's the Bonfires or Legion of Skanks, my other podcast. So it drives them to that stuff, which is cool. Yeah,
and with podcasting, have you noticed that and this is kind of, we built our entire business. This whole thing exists because the people that do listen are very engaged, and in radio they call them P1s. They're like, the P1s are the people that listen to you the most all the time. Your number one listeners, and I feel like
in, they write stuff.
They use your sponsors and stuff, and I feel like in podcasts, like the overwhelming majority,
they meet you in the parking lot,
are the P1s.
With like their mother's bird in it or some shit,
But
I mean, podcast merchandise is huge right now too.
Yep.
Like we have the Legion of Skanks logo shows up at every show I do at this point now, which is cool, and it's like it really is like they are far more engaged, and also the doing comedy and podcasting and radio like that, what's awesome is the audience comes in sort of knowing you as a person. not even just as a comic, and they like your stand-up specials or stuff. They feel like they know me. Do you know what I mean? By the time they meet me, they know my daughter's name. They know
everything about you.
What age she is. What's happening in her life and shit. So it's kind of it's interesting.
And that's different than like if you have a stand-up that doesn't do podcasting, because podcasting, you end up telling your audience a lot about yourself. This is like talk radio or whatever. Like there end up being no secrets. Like if you talk for a long enough time on behind a mic, your audience will know more about you than anybody.
We did a whole show about my anxiety and depression yesterday. Really?
Yeah.
I mean, and how it's crippling.
It's
tapestry of fucking nightmares. Up there.
Is it actually become crippling?
Yeah, it can be. Yeah.
Are you taking anything?
Yeah.
What are you on?
I'm on citalopram, but they changed it because I lost 30 pounds and I was over medicated. I was freaking the fuck out. My arms are buzzing like a robot, and now they dialed it back in. Now I'm starting back in on a much, much, much smaller dosage. Seems to be helping.
Well, Lexapro was my life cheater, but I had it in 2010. Like, I don't even how to call it a psychotic break. I don't even know how to. It seems like it wasn't even like me that would go through this.
Yeah.
But it was like anxiety that like caused like going to the hospital a bunch.
Oh no, yeah.
Them telling you that there's nothing wrong and stop being crazy. They almost get mad at you, like stop wasting our time.
Well, especially loved ones, like my wife. Oh god, she's like,
they get over it.
Fuck you. I'm so done with you acting this way.
And try to explain like. I'm afraid to go to the mall. And they go, and also the worst part is when they go, why? And you go, I don't know. Like I don't know. I don't even know the answer. Like I'm not sure. Like I just like when I go, I'm just gonna feel like anxious and
sometimes
nervous.
I don't even know what like at least you have them all. To me it's like I don't know why I feel this way. I just feel crazy, and I'll just tell him I'm like feeling crazy. Don't know what.
Me too. No, I'm saying it.
Don't know why.
It's
terrible, right?
It was awful, and then it started creeping in on stage.
Oh, really?
And then it just took finally like was one person saying that like describing what was happening to me, who was like, and they go Lexapro like. Got me like saved me from that, and I started taking that, and it just like it did like I've even, and then I'll take myself off it every couple years, and then like a few weeks later, you're like, I can't sleep because my mind's reeling and my hands are
That's
like
what I
shaking,
did.
and then I'm like, got to jump back on that, and then what sucks is it's going to take 4 weeks again for it to make you feel better.
Back in,
I'm about a week and a half in, and I can still, it's feeling better, but I'm not there yet.
Yeah, but when you get there, you'll be like, and it's funny. All you're trying to do is get to the point where you won't even realize that you're better. You're just like, oh, I haven't freaked out in 3 days. Oh, well, I guess I'm all right.
Right.
I was going to ask you about that because I heard the Joe Rogan interview, and you mentioned that, and you said...
I love it when people are open about that, too, man. We need to be. I mean, that's the fucking problem.
Yeah, because I feel like society looks at it wrong, and they're looking at anxiety as if it's something you can control, or like you're like, well, what are you scared of, or what's your problem? Like
most of my teary situations in that were just saying like the words to my ex-wife or whatever, just like I hate it, like I don't want to feel this way. I feel all it's just like it's just scary. I don't know, it's like I'm overwhelmed by every single thing, and you're like, I don't know, I just want to like I need to like lay down where you feel like you're gonna pass out almost of just like being so wound up.
I think one of the biggest arguments my wife and I have had are when I tell her, she's like, it frustrates me that you feel this way, and I'll say, well, imagine how I feel, because I know that I shouldn't feel this way. I know I don't want to feel this way, but I can't do anything about it. So I see your frustration, but imagine in my brain how it feels.
Do you have like an eye of the storm on it? What's weird, I can like say the date. I know the date of when it just kicked in one day. I was smoking weed in my kitchen. It was attached to like a sliding glass balcony door.
Yeah.
So I used to kind of smoke weed there and like, dick around on the computer. And it was my hands went numb, and I started getting like nervous about that. I'm like, this is weird. And then I was like, oh, I did it. Like I finally found that I smoked too much weed. People would say all the time, it goes, oh, I smoke too much. I'm paranoid. I'm whatever. And
right.
I never really felt that from it. I was like, oh no, it always seems to be like a good time where I get tired.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, I did it. Like whatever this weed is, I smoked too much of it, and I'm just going to let me go to bed and I'll be fine. I went to bed very nervous, heart racing and everything. And then I woke up the next morning still feeling the same way. And that's when it was just like, then it's just scary.
Yeah.
You're like, oh, I can't get away from this now. And it was nerve wracking for a few months.
Then like hypochondria sets in, right? And then
of course,
and then
heart
you're
attack.
Like you're like something stroke is happening.
I've had everything.
I still, even on Lexapro, I could have like a little too much of like the wrong kind of weed will definitely, like, I have to talk myself down of being like, it's just weed, dude.
It's
like you can't be having, at this point, a 9-year heart attack. It's like the symptoms are the same. Like your hands go numb and then they come back. So it's almost like, and it's weird, like even that kind of a symptom, like your hands going numb, when you realize if you just get distracted by something. Do you know what I mean? Like if your hands were going numb and like a beautiful woman was like, I need to suck your dick right now, your hands wouldn't be numb anymore.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
That's a fact.
You know
That's just science.
And I feel like that's
just science.
And that's definitely not the antidote for a heart attack.
I don't know. I'd be willing to try. You know, I mean, it's better than I mean, right off the bat, it sounds better than anything the doctors.
My hands are numb. Is anyone here that willing to blow me?
So didn't you start having this problem too right before you like? I think you were mentioning Joe Rogan like going on tour with Korn, and like before you did that, right?
You know, even recently in a conversation, I realized other things that were going on that could make that. Because what's interesting is my friends would always tell me more. They thought I was like the most calm person. Like, man, you handle like crazy situations, like very calmly. Mm-hmm. You know, people would give bad news or whatever like that, and you're like, yeah, it is what it is. You know, and then it just one day it fucking happened. And but then I put together what was going on at the time. Yeah, I was getting ready to leave on those tours, 2 tours back to back with Korn, where I was like, I was excited as hell about it, and then it started to set in. You're like, oh, I have to do a job on these things. Might not go great.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
That's a roll of the dice too, because I've heard other comedians talk about like you go up in front of audiences.
Oh, the old music and comedy combo.
Yeah, they're there to see. You know, it could go either way every single night, right?
Yeah, and you know, you never know how it's. So I was like, oh, what if I do bad out of the gates and they send me home? And then it's like money I was expecting that I wouldn't be getting, which was at the time like, you know, huge. You're like,
sure,
this is a big deal. I need this. And then also got a letter from a landlord who were only one person in the family spoke English, Asian family, that were very nice when we moved in, and then realized they could be charging more for the apartment. So they did at the end of the year, they were like, hey, thanks a lot for being good, you know, tenants. You haven't, you know, they sent us a letter. Everything's been on time. You're fantastic, but we're going to need you out at the end of the month. And we had a daughter. We still have a daughter, but I mean, my daughter was in school, and it was one of those like. So we wrote back like, you know, we realized it's not our place. We're renting it, so to argue this wouldn't make sense. Just sent back a letter saying like, it's a lack of communication is the problem here. Because we wrote back a letter saying like, hey, like, is it possible? Can you just give us like 3 more months so like our daughter can finish the school year? I don't have to worry about pulling her out of school.
Yeah.
I don't have to get another place right here. It's like, let her just finish the school year, and then summer comes, we'll be out. I'm leaving for those tours anyway, and we'll figure something out. And they just sent back like, you know, they were going to do forcible eviction, like, you know, like some like legal papers, which was dumb of them because we actually won.
No,
and
really?
we were able to stay there for 6 more months or whatever it was, like for free. Essentially.
No shit.
Yeah, and then they have to pay our legal fee. It was just a really bad move on. They were just ill advised, but. Within that time, but the stress of that also in the time of going through that,
stacking up,
they were there all the time. So, I mean, they would start physical fights with us, like old Chinese ladies.
Really?
What?
Bit my ex-wife, like ripped my clothes.
Hold on. Well, how did that happen? Like she just like comes out of the bushes.
Yeah, I wish we still had the technology changes are what's ruined this now. But there was a thing. Remember the flip?
Yeah, I had a flip camera.
Yeah.
With the little USB off the side.
Yeah, you put it right into your thing.
Yeah.
And the flip camera came out, and so my ex-wife got into. I was more just like, could we just never try to see these people and just go about our lives?
Yeah.
And she was like, no, they're doing stuff that they can't do, and so she goes out there one time, and they were filming us. I don't know if we were bringing like a new piece of furniture, whatever it was. That family, no one speaking English. This old Asian lady like filming us, move stuff in, and then
with a flip cam.
No, she was over her phone or whatever.
Oh, okay.
And my ex-wife. That's why I said I have the flip cam. It's a shame. I just don't even know where it's at, or it's gone now. But we had footage of this where she goes and gets the flip cam and starts filming the lady, filming us, this old Asian lady with no communication because she can't speak English, and they're like angry and in each other's faces, and then the lady, you could see in the camera, she just goes and like bites like my ex-wife's hand, like an animal. It was crazy.
Goddamn.
Cops came. It was such an ordeal, and so that's all going on.
That's the exact opposite of what you want to do. You're like, can we please just avoid this situation? You look down, there's an Asian lady biting your
So
wife.
your old Asian landlord is biting your ex-wife.
So that's going on.
You're about to go on tour with Korn.
I was cheating. I was seeing somebody on the side. I had to.
Oh my God, man!
And that immediately, like, the first thing I thought in my mind, I was like, I'm stressing myself out with that. You know, I was like, I shouldn't be doing this. I felt terrible about it, and I was like, so I cut that off immediately. It didn't help. The landlord thing's going on, and then also didn't think I was on a TV show for 2 years that got like canceled. The month before that,
it's just piling up.
I didn't even know that's when I realized recently. I was like, the timing of that. I go, oh yeah, I guess that was when we found out. Also, we weren't doing another season of Z-Rock on the IFC channel we were doing. So that was over, and then just like again, that wasn't even necessarily life-changing money or anything. It was just like a gig.
Yeah.
Where you felt like you were like, oh, I'm on
cool.
a TV show, you know.
Yeah, that's cool.
And so all those things just happening at once, and I think literally, I asked the therapist, I was like, can you just break one day? And he was like, yeah. For sure.
Really? And then no one knows your breaking point, right? Mm-hmm. Like, it's just, it could be this invisible line that just like, oh, you ticked past it. Now
I don't think I have one. Yeah, I don't think I've hit mine yet, but I think, but I am going to see Joker tonight, so we'll see.
What are you going to see?
The Joker, the new movie.
Oh, yeah. Well,
we'll see.
The military's telling you to be careful.
Yeah, everybody is. Yeah, everybody's, don't go. It's going to be a bloodbath.
Isn't that crazy?
I hate it.
It's crazy that they...
Also because, like,
don't scare people like that.
That's what you're doing. You're scaring people with a thing. It's like this is more like asking for something like that to happen because someone's like, well, it's so in the eye now. It's like, now if I'm the guy who does it, like, I get what I'm looking for.
Yeah, because every channel's covering it. We were bitching about it this morning. I can't stand it. I mean, it's a fucking movie.
Well, you're telling society, like, be careful for this completely random, impossible to know or act that could happen. It's like, it seems like the society knows to be careful. Like, everybody got the memo. We live in this world where,
sure,
like,
they get you. I mean, I still, I don't walk into a movie theater now without kind of like looking, and you're like, all right, like you're kind of your escape route if need be. You kind of got to look it out. Where I never would have thought about that before.
I know. It is a shame that, especially with the
I only
kids,
go to kids' movies.
I also think if a guy came in camo and carrying a large duffel bag, I'd be like, you know what? I'll see it another time.
Yeah, I'm okay with that too.
There's.
I also get that way with Hispanic teenagers, just in general.
Well, you do that too.
They're going to ruin the movie.
Yeah,
I have been.
You say that all the time.
Well, then
they'll bring in four babies with earrings.
Jay, there was a scenario where I was at the. This is pre-kids years ago. I'm sitting there at a movie theater with my wife, and then there was some young teens, and they weren't that young. They were probably like 17, 18. I mean, they could have been in there like 19. I have no idea. But
no gauge of
they were 13 and 14.
But they were
25.
Yeah,
they were
right?
cute.
They were like,
they were 25 and they were bodybuilders.
But there's a lot of them. And then my wife's like,
a gang of teens.
They're talking,
and they had knives.
And my wife's like, tell them to shut up. And then I'm like. I'm doing the math. I'm like, all right, if I tell them, like, hey, quiet down.
Pardon me, little pump.
And then they turn around. They're like,
quiet down.
They're like, fuck you, old man, or whatever. Then
they push you down. Then they're fucking.
So
they put a popcorn bucket on your head. They pull your dick out. They're like punching your love handle.
So then, what makes me look worse?
Right, that's what they would. That's what I would do. If I were in the movie and I were a teen, I would put the popcorn bucket on your head. Then I would pull your dick out. Then I'd punch your love handles. Then I'd insult your wife.
Yeah. So I
might even shit on you.
I'm like, why even attempt to then escalate this thing? Because for sure they're not going to listen to me, and they're not going. We weren't aware that we're screaming.
I agree.
Of course, they don't give a fuck, and anybody who's going to say anything to them, they're going to be like, fuck off.
Talk about an anxious situation. The movie's always for me. The idea of going to a movie on a weekend is gone for me. I wouldn't even consider that. Me and my chick will do we do tend to do Sundays, which is a busy day for the movies, but more family-ish.
Yeah. Families, older people.
That's a date night.
Yeah.
And then and Tuesday nights is like my one night off of like podcasting and stuff where I will go to a movie on a Tuesday night always when the theater's kind of empty. Like a packed theater now, like exactly. Like if someone's talking behind me, I'm consumed by it.
Yeah, that's all you.
And I end up spending the whole time waiting for them to do it again, and they do. And I think if I even am the person to look back, I just in my mind, it's not even I mean, I definitely don't want to be in a fight of any kind, but in my head, on the most pleasant, like, dude, I'm really sorry. Like, can you just, like, please, you're being a little bit loud. And I think I'm right about this. I think 9 times out of 10, you're going to be like, turn the fuck around.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh. And in my head, I'm like,
and then if
I go around and politely ask this person to please, like, please, I'm like, it's going to go. I'm already in a fight in the parking lot.
It's escalated.
Yeah. There's no such thing as being nice.
Yeah.
And I don't and it's weird, like, very recently, there was one where there's a guy, I could just tell he's checking fantasy football scores on a Sunday.
Oh, no, not the phone. Not the,
Tom.
I hate the phone.
No, I
But
wouldn't do it.
The phone's almost worse sometimes because it's like hitting me in the eyes.
It's so bright.
Yeah.
And like when I go over, it's like by the time I go over to this guy, in my mind, like he was in the row with me. The problem when they're behind you, you don't know what you're turning around to.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'm turning around to 15 people, one guy by himself, a crazy part, whatever.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
The ghost of Kimbo Slice. It could be anything.
exactly.
It could be
You
anything.
never know. I thought Kimbo Slice and that other guy both died in that fight. Remember that?
Oh,
His last
Seth is
fight?
a buddy of ours.
Yeah,
but,
he's
the
gonna
guy,
be on
you
our
remember
show
the guy
later.
that beat Kimbo?
Dada
He'll be here
5000?
later.
Oh,
yeah.
from the
the
documentary.
he had like really bad health when he was fighting.
Yeah, I
right?
think he almost died in the ring.
Yes, yeah. He
that
had like
fight.
liver, or like his kidneys shut down because he tried to cut too
trying to
much
cut
weight.
weight,
Like,
yeah.
like about unhealthy people trying to do an athlete's job.
It's so bizarre. But this guy that was next to me, I can kind of see him, and it was just like a 40-year-old like guy that didn't seem like to be too much of a problem. And I remember going, and even that, like when I went over to him, like ducking down slowly to walk over a few chairs to tell him, like, hey man, you got to at least turn that brightness down. Like, I go over there with my mind. I'm really prepared. I'm like, this is going to be like I might have to fight. And the guy was like, and the guy's reaction, he's like, oh, I'm sorry, and he lowered the thing.
You got him.
And what's funny is, by the way, that's what bothers me about it also, because I'm a person who doesn't talk in a movie theater a lot. If I'm with a group and people are talking, I'm the person going to them like, what are you doing? Like, stop.
Knock it off. Yeah,
like stop talking. Because if somebody went to me, it's why I've never been drunk, kicked out of a place ever or anything, because I'd always assume, especially if I'm drinking and you know how that could go, you know, like I've never been a belligerent drunk, but if I was drunk at a bar and the person came up to me and goes like, hey man, I'm going to need you to leave. I'm the person who leaves going like, what did I do? Oh shit. Did I fuck up big? Did I say something to somebody I shouldn't have said? You know, it's like, what have I done? I would assume I was wrong, but most people in the world, you're like, you can't talk. Like, why can't I talk in this movie theater, motherfucker?
What is that? I wish I had that much
I don't know.
confidence.
There's a lot of people here, and like, you know, everyone paid, and I guess
like how narcissistic are you? It's crazy to me.
It was like the guy
I
that
do
was.
not know.
It was like the guy yelling at the 7-Eleven cashier, and this is stupid because I'm 5'2". You know, I'm $160. It's meaningless. You know, and he's just being really rude, really rude. And I just go, hey man, that's not cool. And then the guy, like, I'm giving him like kind of a like, come on. And then he's like, hey, you want to go out? I will fucking kill you. You know, like, he's like, I will fuck you up. And I'm like, whoa.
This escalated.
Whoa. Like, no, this was just over the
like a pack
guy
of cigarettes
because they
or
didn't
something.
have the right taquito he wanted or something. Like, I don't know.
people were not. Last night at the show here in Orlando, there was a girl who was talking a lot, and they had spoken to her. And it was I've been doing this long enough that it's so funny how ridiculously almost hack from the audience this has become. But it made the crowd laugh the way I did it, because this girl, I could hear her talking the whole time, and she was like, you know, they almost kicked me out here at one point. And they go, I go, oh, really? Why? I go, oh, they thought you were just tell them, right? You were laughing, right? She's like, yeah, I was just like laughing. And I go, that is just what every person who gets kicked out of a comedy club for talking. They always go, I guess you can't laugh now. It comes like, is he think that's what they kick you out for? Hysterical laughter.
They're
It's like, what are you
laughing.
talking? It's like, we were just laughing.
Yeah.
Like, are we laughing like this? Hey, do you guys want to go out after the bar after this? And then you can come over my house.
Yeah. Also, I feel like it's the same same person that wants to fight you for politely asking them to not do something selfish is the same person that talks loudly during shows that people are performing. Like, how do you have zero
dodos? They're fucking dodos.
Self-recognition,
because everybody's in the center of their own universe now. YouTube, dude, it's what it is. It's the generation that believes in YouTube, that you can be from anywhere in the world and post something out there. It might get you anything from a job,
famous, yeah.
You know what I mean?
Notoriety,
exactly. You could become everything from a background dancer to the biggest star in the world off of just YouTube stuff. So everyone thinks they have that shot. There's no one growing up now that goes like, no, my dad does construction. I'm taking over his construction company. I do that. You know what I mean? Like entertainment is like dime a dozen. Like everybody has tried something, or there's hundreds of thousands of podcasts.
No, I know.
I know the exact number. Well, as of last week, it was 750,000 podcasts, and 250,000 of them are active.
Yeah,
because people start them and then they're like, I don't want to do that anymore, and they can't.
Sure. Well, also knowing again, you guys have a radio background. And, and being in comedy, we're around enough podcasts to know things like a lot of people don't have. Consistency. The time that it comes out, very big deal. You know what I mean? Like releasing at the same time. Building those things that I wouldn't have known otherwise. You know what I mean? It was people going like, yeah, man, you can't just hey, let's go throw together a podcast and then release it once. Like the most famous person, people won't care.
Yeah.
They want their content, and the people want it, and when they want it, and I get it too. Like to this day, as a huge Howard Stern fan, and I get it, his age and how long he's been doing it, but I definitely have I'm like, damn, this dude's fucking off 2 weeks a month. God damn, and he works a lot, and he does a 3-day week when he's there. You're like, damn, man.
I know. He's got that.
I'm doing 4 shows on Sirius.
Well, I think he's just coming in for a landing at this point. He's been coming in for a landing. He's about to be 70 at the end of his.
No, he'll be 65 when it's all said and done. I think he's 60. He's like 65 now. I think he'll be 67 when it's all said.
I thought he signed another 5-year Sirius XM.
He did. He did 5 years when he was 62.
Okay, so
and I think that's his. I think it's. But he did a really cool deal. This is why I think it might be the last one too. Obviously, it could be manipulated, the deal, but where it is now, it's actually a 12-year deal. It was 5 more years on air, and then they'll own all of his material for 7 more years.
Oh, really?
And I'm like, that will single-handedly keep Sirius alive. That's huge.
What do you think?
Because I listen to because he's only on 3 days a week, 2 or 3 weeks a month. Most of the time now, what you listen to is that Sternthology, which just
that's
the best stuff, which is great.
Because
you remember all those, you get to hear Artie again, and
it's good, man.
Jackie. It's a really fun show. So as long as you have that constant, thing going,
and there's so many. I look at there was a time where there was so little out there, especially talk radio. We talk about this all the time. It's like if you were a fan of talk radio, you had very little options. 15 years ago, pre-podcast, pre-internet, it was like whatever radio station in your town had talk radio. People used to listen to fucking brokered shows, car mechanics talk, because if you liked people talking, you were only had a certain amount of options, and nowadays it's all changed because obviously podcasts and the internet and stuff, and then even flooded the market.
Even FM talk's hard to find. I can only think of a handful of stations across, here.
Well, it happens. It's funny. It happens in comedy, and I could see. It was funny watching Howard Stern go through that when he had an actual thing with Ari Shaffir at one point. Mm-hmm. Never met him, but through just something you heard him say on Rogan. And it was him going at Stern, which probably should. I mean, it doesn't matter. But I'm a huge Stern fan, but Ari's he was doing the old, he's out of it now. He doesn't understand. But he's right. Ari was actually right in that regard, but I understand Stern's frustration. In a world of a guy who, his story is legendary at this point. AM radio, and then go, from college radio to AM spots to being a shitty DJ all over the country in different markets, and getting DC building up to get NBC. They hated him there, and then he gets the channels with K-Rock, I guess was his big.
That was the huge one,
and that's when it just became he just dominated all over the country. For him to understand, the same thing with me. It's for me. I had even came at a time, in a weird time too, where people were getting famous for other things. But I had to do open mics to get to a point where you like are good enough to like host at a club, and then you get in some of the clubs in New York. I moved to New York, get some of the clubs there, and then you go on the road opening for people.
Sure.
And this, you have to build this thing, and then till you get to the point where you can put some asses in seats where they'll go, we'll headline you now. You try, it takes like a decade or more sometimes.
Yep.
And then someone goes and like they're popular on YouTube, and they'll sell tickets. They'll sell a room out. And they're 22 years old, and they're not really talented at what they're even doing. It's just like they can put asses in seats, and they get it.
Yep.
I understand Howard Stern having that bicker. It's like podcast. Because he still has like a, what the fuck can you do with a podcast? And you're like, kill it, dude. You can kill it. And I understand, like, because he always goes, you want to learn radio? Like, go do a 2 a.m. to 6 a.m. shift on AM radio.
That's the old way of doing it.
And you're just like, it's like, I know what you mean. But you really don't have to do that. And I'm even the beneficiary of that. Like because I was doing stand-up comedy, and there's so many outlets, and Comedy Central Radio has a channel on the thing, and my affiliation with Comedy Central, me and Dan were able to get a radio show on Sirius XM. That's something that's like, Stern had. I mean, granted, he gets paid.
Well, that channel seems to be
$500
kicking ass.
million.
The Comedy Central channel, like, and look, I subscribe. I'm a Sirius XM subscriber. My wife loves it. It's like the only radio she'll listen to.
Good.
But it seems like the Comedy
I argue
Central...
about their music selections only because fantastic channel selections and choices. But and I found this out in such a bad way, and I don't mind saying it on stuff because I've complained about it on our own show.
Sure, yeah.
I've asked to go in and be like, hey, let me come in, like, we're in Sirius XM, like, I'll come in early one day or midnight one night. Let me do 2 hours of like yacht rock or metal or 80s
Something
tunes.
you're into.
Whatever. I'll just come in and I'll just take like, let people call in. I'll get stoned and I'll just sit there and like play music. And they go, sure, let us know whenever you want to come do it. We'll have you come in the afternoon. And I was like, nah, I want to do like a late night thing, and I'll promote it to the fans and people will listen and we'll have this fun kind of radio show. No, they do not have, they are zero live DJing at all. All it is they want you to come in and go,
voice track it.
All right, this next song, it means a lot to me because blah, blah, blah. It's Africa by Toto.
Yeah.
And then go, all right, go again. Go, that was Africa by Toto, and we're moving on to the next song. And I go, no, what happened to like just sit with my feet up on the desk?
Yeah, old school.
Yeah. And they go, no, it's all just looped things. So if
crazy.
You listen at noon, maybe at like 6 p.m., you're going to hear that same run of like 18 songs again. That's kind of, they have such a big catalog.
Yeah, like the catalog is weird because I was like, I wonder what's going on in hard rock. Like, I'm like a punk rock and hip hop guy, and then I was like, I want to hear some hard rock. Is there new hard rock? I don't know. I don't listen to it enough, so let me check it out. So I put on this channel that's supposed to be hard rock, and I swear to God, it went Godsmack, Chevelle, Seven Dust. And then I'm like, this is the same shit.
Sounds like Octane.
Yeah, it might have been, but I was like, this is the same shit that's been played like over and over. It's like when my wife puts on the 90s channel and then like Third Eye Blind comes on. I'm like, my God, do you have something other from the 90s, than that?
Yeah.
But here's the thing, the beauty of it, it's to give them like some do, though, is like if you put on the 90s channel, it's going to give you the most like obvious, like the 2 Third Eye Blind songs or whatever. But there are like other stations called like like Deep Cuts or Lithium's a little more like you get more like good. Coffee House Rock will be. It's just like kind of they have like a lot more options. I'm just saying on whatever it is though, it's just like it's almost like Pandora, even though it's weirdly they just like merge with them. It almost is Pandora. It's just like a cultivated playlist you're going to hear over and over again.
Yeah. Jay, what do you think is going to happen? I'm sure you've thought about this too. With like we talked about how there's so many podcasts. Every comedian has a podcast, basically. I mean, now every radio show, the corporations are forcing them to do podcasts. It's
even corporations. Have you seen the market of people that are making podcasts for just corporations, whether it be H&M or IKEA? These guys want to have podcasts. I don't know why, but they want to have them.
I like gambling, sports gambling, and there's hundreds and hundreds of sports gambling podcasts. That's all I listen to, and so it's like I could basically fill my craving of talk with just one category of talk radio, which has never been before. And it seems to be diluting everything down where that you could listen to your favorite comedian or you could listen to a podcast about fixing your truck or anything like botany or whatever.
Well, he makes fun of me because I listen to podcasts about podcasting. So I can stay on top of equipment and
Sure.
shit because, we have to run things a little lean around here because we have employees now.
So
you know?
I equate it to like when cable TV released thousands of channels that like it dilutes the market, right?
Sure.
So is there ever going to that's just it right now? I mean, we're never going to go back to to talk about Howard Stern. Like Howard Stern was super famous around the world, but even around the country. So many people were listening because he was the only one.
See, I mean, Rogan's got numbers like that for sure, but I mean, but
even his numbers have had to been diluted, right? Because he was at one time. I mean, they just did a joke on Saturday Night Live about Rogan. That's when you're in pop culture. I was like, oh, okay. Yeah, exactly. So we are there.
Oh yeah,
but
forefront.
even everybody because I'm sure his numbers had to been diluted a little bit, only because some of his audience just wandered off to the infinite amount of podcasts out there that they might like.
Also, you find through his show.
I'm sure your podcast got a big hit. Or
I was going to say, there's definitely people who have done that trickle where you see them do the walk where I was Stern, then O&A, and then blah, 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 and then I kind of found the Bonfire or whatever, or through Ari Shaffir and Rogan, they found Legion of Skanks or something. So it does dilute it. I think what's just going to come ultimately is there's going to be some way to find. I mean, they're already doing it. If your stuff goes up on YouTube, they're trying to find a way to demonetize people if they don't like what you're saying or whatever. And so
that's what they're saying right now in the chat room about Rogan. They said Rogan just took a demonetization hit on YouTube.
Yeah,
because they're changing the way that they monetize, that you are allowed as an actual, what do they call it, content provider, to how you can make money from YouTube. They're kind of switching it up a little bit,
which is so ridiculous. So then you have to do personal advertising. Which I understand too, and it's if people pay for the service, you don't get commercials, and if they don't, you get the commercials. So I mean, I'm all learning sort of how it works too. It all seems so weird. I just wanted to go tell jokes on stage and never overthought it. I love broadcasting. I do love it. I think it's the same. It gives the same jolt that I think stand-up comedy gives because you don't know where it's going. It's not planned, and it's it's engaging and fun for sure. But I mean. As far as diluting the thing, I don't know. It probably is with all the amount. But I mean, also, I think in all things, the cream does sort of rise. Do you know what I mean? If you're talking about to watch something like the last podcast on the left, it's a horror and serial killer podcast. Those guys were just in the basement of the Creek in the Cave with Legion of Skanks, and it's they're huge now. They have a huge following. And you get the right, Patreon is doing amazing things for people.
Yes,
people that want to subscribe to it. The days of they always make that correlation to, the Tonight Show at one point was 60 million people watching it because
that's insane.
It was the show that was, an hour after the Tonight Show was off. It used to play the national anthem and the screen would go to static.
Yeah.
I loosely remember that as a kid. And now where you went to the 24 hours of you can watch South Park whenever you want. If not streaming even, it's just on at 3 a.m. on the local channel at some point. You know what I mean? There's so that's always going to dilute everything. And, so now if you have a TV show, they said it gets 3 million viewers, you're killing it.
Yes, yeah. It's just such a difference in the amount.
It's not going to be Cosby Show numbers or
it
shit.
Won't happen again.
Too many options. So they have to change what the value is of something. You don't see and the antiquated stuff is always going to be behind that.
Yes, yeah.
TV is never going to understand why will we do a web show? Because I didn't get it either. Years ago, I pitched a show to Fuse Network, which was a music network.
I remember
at one point.
Fuse, yeah.
It went away, but I remember pitching them a thing, and it was they were just no, they offer I will pitch a TV show, and they go, well, how about we do webisodes? And they still call them webisodes.
yeah.
And I went, this is a TV show. Please don't put me back with the web. And now you realize that most people, and again, I'm 42, so it hits me a little bit different, but I'm starting to just see that they're right and understand that it's no, you don't understand. If you make a 6-minute video online, it's too long. Mm-hmm. They want to just, they're typing at work, they take their glasses off and go like this, and they want to see a minute funny thing.
Yes, yeah.
And then back to work, you know what I mean? And I'm wow, I never,
It's
overthink that shit.
between two ferns. So you know what I'm saying, like things like that, small just clips.
Yeah.
And I mean they turned it into a movie now, but it's like I wondered if stand-up specials and stuff with the younger people, the generation younger than us are so used to fast ADD society or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder if we're still going to be, or they're still going to demand hour-long specials, or if that's going to get cut down.
That's happening. That's happening huge.
Okay.
Yeah, I did The Degenerates on Netflix. Season 1, and those are half-hour specials, and we shot 6 of them, all of us, and then they just shot season 2. Already those are down to 15-minute specials.
Oh, really?
Shit.
They released a slew of 15-minute specials, 40 of them at once. It was comedy from around the world, so it's these 15-minute specials from all over. So the new season of Degenerates is 15 minutes.
Wow.
They're dialing all these things back and still calling them specials because people just want it in the quick bursts.
Yeah, God. Hey,
and you could turn them over faster because you by the time a special comes out, you have another 15 minutes. You know what I mean?
That's why I thought it was so weird when Righteous Gemstones came out on what is that, HBO or Netflix, that the episodes were an hour length, and I was like, well, that's fucking weird because everything's being dialed back. But
I think that
it's also the demographic you're trying to hit with something. I said for me,
I'm your age, so
I do the same thing where it's especially episodics where they don't bulk release them now, like The Walking Dead.
Yeah.
Like a show like that, I didn't get into that show till season 8, so I watched 7 seasons on Netflix where you're like, if an episode was bad, everyone's like, you know what season sucked? I'd be like, none of them. Because to me, it was always if an episode was lame, I just watch the next episode. I can keep going.
Yeah.
When something's episodic now, I still find myself that kind of that giddy anxiety where I'm I hit the pause button to see what time, how much time's left on the DVR. It's almost over. It's something big's got to be happening now. I still like the longer format.
Yeah, I do too. I do too.
We ask this question to every comedian. Have you ever done any sort of private gig or corporate gig for the cash? Maybe back earlier in your career.
That might have been a complete hunk of shit.
Yeah, that didn't turn out well, or was awkward, or they didn't have the right setup, or no mic, or
I've done plenty of things where they thought the mic was the afterthought for them. They're like, "You need a microphone?" I'm like, it's the only thing I need.
But then they hand you the microphone, no PA, no speakers, no backline, no light.
They go, here's a microphone, I guess. Yeah,
do you have a
lighting.
flashlight? Use your phone light.
Or you're doing it.
Corporates will never hire me for because my content's too dirty. But I've done someone that knows my shit's hired me for a corporate thing before, and it was fine. And then the worst private thing ever. And it wasn't even the worst thing I've ever done, but just when you realize, it's the same, if you love, Guns N' Roses, we'll say.
Okay.
And if you could afford it, it still would be stupid for you to hire Guns N' Roses to play your backyard.
Right.
For a party.
I don't have a yard, so it wouldn't work. Yeah.
But even if you had a nice yard, it's just stupid.
Yeah. It seems like the good thing. It's like when these tech billionaires used to hire Kid Rock for their birthday party. They had unlimited money. They're like, well, but then you're like, Kid Rock shouldn't be playing even if I'm the $1 million mansion, he shouldn't be doing this.
He shouldn't be in the background. Shouldn't be Kid Rock in the background. You go see Kid Rock at a concert. If you're a fan, you go. Yeah, they put on a show. So the worst offer I got that I accepted, and I just kind of made it as tolerable as possible, was I got asked to do, it was $200 to go to I don't know if it was an apartment or a hotel for a bachelorette party. They wanted me to, they liked my comedy. They saw me live at a comedy club and was like, come here. And you're just like, why would you want this? 10 girls, maybe less, in a hotel room. And it was just when I got
$200 and 10 girls, I might consider. But
it was they were nice enough. When I got there, it was just, I tried to tell them, they just had a circle of chairs.
Yeah.
And then me just standing there, and they had a microphone or something or no, they didn't even have a microphone.
A karaoke machine or something.
Not even. I think it was just we're in a room like this, so let's just talk. And my thing was just that. I go, how about this, ladies? I go, I'll do what I do, but I'll sit down with you here, and I'll just kind of meet and that's what I did. I just kind of almost crowd work. I made them all laugh.
right.
through
That's
like
a
telling,
good idea,
making
man.
them tell stories to each other. What's the biggest secret you keep from
You can
her?
interview them, yeah.
And just kind of had fun with that, and it was more fun. And it was like fine, but the idea like that they thought they wanted me to come in there and be like, so what else? Anybody here ever been to the Bahamas? That's crazy. And you're like, it's just
I
like
hear that a lot of like these bachelorette parties go to like comedy shows,
That's
but
the
I've never
worst
heard
show.
of them actually throw like
No, that's
a
the
party
worst show
and invite
that-
the comedians.
That's the worst show that Tom and I ever saw was with Bobby Lee at the Orlando Improv.
they get
Sherrod, do you remember this
shit-faced.
one? And first of all, her husband was making a meow noise the whole show. Remember that? He was just making a meow.
Like
you know,
Super
you love those
Troopers?
guys. Like, look, yeah, I'm doing a fucking animal noise to ruin everybody else's ticket. And then the lady stands up, puts her hands up, and stops the show. And Bobby's like, finally, he's like, okay, fuck it, yes. What do you have to say? And she's like, my sister died. And we're here for her, and he's like, he just looks at her and he goes, "Oh, go fuck yourself!" Like,
yeah, literally, I know.
He apologized because
Shouldn't have.
but it was. Do you remember that?
Oh, yeah,
it was the fucking worst. Like it was like the whole room. By the way, the room there was like no one was laughing. Like
I was like, am I involved in the death somehow? Like, no, then shut the fuck up.
Yeah, it was.
But that's the other thing, again, what that's created, we said that YouTube generation thing, too, is like more than ever, people are the center of their own bubble so much, man. People are the center of their own world.
You see that more at shows?
So much in shows. Blown away. And it's the easiest thing to combat as far as heckling goes, especially if the show's going well. If you're drawing mostly your audience and someone is there is not your fan, is whatever, and they're angry at it, the funniest thing they do is, like, again, talk about narcissism. Rather than seeing... Like, I'm getting ahead of myself, but I'm almost saying, like I don't like romantic comedies. Never cared about them ever. I don't like almost any of them, with very few exceptions. I would never rally against them being made.
Yeah.
And what's so bizarre is people come to comedy shows and where the show's going great, and you just see one person there, and when you go to them and you're like, what's the wrong? You know, I talk to the crowd enough that if I see someone not enjoying it, I'm always quick to be like, what's going on? Is everything all right? Yeah. And they're like, I'm waiting for you to be funny or say something funny. And you're like, I mean, you don't, you cannot make them understand, like, this is probably, like, you're not into it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It's like, you're personally, which I'm fine with. I go, it's subjective, of course. If you don't like dirty comedy, I'm not your thing. If you don't like talking, whatever, I'm not your thing. I have no problem with that. You know what I mean? I love my grandmother to death, and she loves me. I would never, ever tell her to come see my comedy.
Yeah, of course. Yeah,
you know what I mean? It wouldn't be her thing. So I get it, but it's always when they're angry. It's like, well, I had a lady one time in Seattle wait in a line for a half hour to tell me I should change the way I do comedy. She could tell that I'm funny, but I should change everything I do. And I go, what is that? She goes, it's just dirty. And I go, yeah. I go, it is dirty. I get it. I was like, it's not your thing. I understand. And I suggested... She goes, because I know on the flight out I was with another comic, Gary Goldman, who's brilliant.
Oh, yeah.
He's got an HBO special coming out. He's a brilliant comic. Pretty clean. For the most part, squeaky clean and hilarious. I go, no, if you're in that, I go across town at Tacoma Comedy Club. There's Gary Goldman's in town. I go, you see him. If he's more what you're looking for, he's clean and really, really fun. I'm still being polite to this lady.
Yeah.
And she goes, well, I like to come to this club. And I'm like, you can't see late. And I tell her, every time I have a conversation, I just know when you're speaking to deaf ears, you just go, I know this is a waste of my breath and yours, but like, lady, you just waited in line for a half hour because people were waiting in line to say autograph and take a picture.
Yeah,
and
they were happy to be there.
They're fan. And you wait in that line and still think that they're all wrong.
Yeah.
That's like, no, it's like, you should be doing this different. Why do you do it like this? Because clearly some people...
Yeah. This is... it's the same thing where, like, I used to laugh at the people, like, they make fun of the Carrot Top or Jeff Dunham or, they're like, oh, well, he's not funny or he's not talented or whatever. He's not a real comic or whatever. I'm like, well, okay, that's your opinion, but he's obviously making it pretty successful. All these people are coming. Like,
and I told you before anybody I would never make fun of Carrot Top again after seeing his dick in a hot tub.
Really?
There's nothing to make
it's all
fun
over
of.
Instagram.
Yeah, there's nothing to make fun of there. That's a very, very serious cock.
Guy's got a hammer.
Oh my God, does he?
I
He likes
bet.
showing it.
Yeah, and he likes. Do you follow
Does he
him on
really?
Instagram?
No.
You got to follow
It's
him.
very interesting.
He shows his dick on Instagram?
Well, not he doesn't show it, but let's just
he's
say there's some
showing it,
veins
basically.
in the sweatpants. You know what I mean? Like, you
Really?
can see
Yeah,
it. That guy's
little booty
bringing
shorts.
it. He's bringing it.
But that's
Good
like
for him. You know, I use him as an example. I'm sorry, but
No,
I
please.
use him as an example also. I thought that was interesting when the comics turn on comics. That's what the most interesting thing that Hannah Gatsby, who everyone, that's in favor of laughter, was appalled by. But again, I don't give a shit about that. I think I'm happy there's 1,000 brands of comedy.
Yeah.
And that people do all different things. It's not my cup of tea for sure, Hannah Gatsby, but like there's an audience for it in a market, and more power to you. Do your thing, and it gets huge, and she wins Emmys and all. No problem with that. Yeah. And then she did an article that was like, if you're doing comedy just to make people laugh, then you're missing the point, and you're not doing the thing. And you're going, and I just, all that made me think when she said that was, forget myself. I'll take myself out of it. I just go, you're saying with those words, definitely, this is the connotation. Dave Attell, Brian Regan, Carrot Top, Jeff Dunn, you know what I mean? Like, these people, like, you're saying all these people should not be doing comedy because they don't go up there and be like, in the middle of their set, have like, we're in two wars right
TED
now,
Talk,
people that are blah, 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 exactly, and start screaming about, my father died when I was young, and that's a real, you're like, okay, dude. Like, that's the only thing. It's like some people are just fucking silly, man. It's just to go out there and be dumb.
I like silly. I don't.
So do I.
People ask me. I had a guy ask me. He's like, I saw you because I do a little bit of a music segment, and I put on some punk rock. It was from I'm blanking on the name, but let's just say they're a political punk rock band. And I'm like, it's not really my thing, but I like the music. And the guy wrote me, and he's like, you got nothing to say? And I was like, I don't really have any. I have no agenda. I have nothing to say. I really don't. I'm not a political
Everybody
guy.
wants to argue.
Well, it's funny. I try to like. I think my comedy falls more in line of the style. I mean, it's dirtier, obviously, and stuff. But I mean, like, the delivery style and how I believe like the formatting is much more in line with like Bill Burr, Louis C.K., like that thing. It's like a little bit longer pieces.
Yeah.
Sure.
Involved more and things like that. But like the comedy I like to watch. I mean, Bill Burr and Louis, obviously legends and fantastic. I'm not arguing that. And hilarious, first and foremost, above all else. But for my, like, if I'm like watching like, a set where I'm like, a set I have to watch, it's a guy like Tony Roberts, who is like, he's a black circuit comic, hilarious.
Yeah, we've had him in here.
Tony Roberts. I mean, he's just rapid. I mean, he's got jokes that the whole joke is like, I hate sucking like small titties because it's trying to like sucking a nipple on a small titty is like trying to bite a nail out of a wall. And it's like those are jokes make me go tell 5 more people the next day. It makes me laugh. You know what I mean? It's just like it doesn't mean any. There's no social commentary. It's no nothing. It's just like he's just rapid fire horse shit. But it's a talent. It's like a major talent. It's the opposite of what I do, and I think it's why I'm even drawn more to it. I'm like, let me see that. Nate Bargatze, we were talking about before.
We've had him in here too.
Dear friend of mine, like one of my closest friends, and like always just been squeaky clean and brilliant and so good.
Yeah,
he's
so good.
And that's like the opposite of what. In fact, I think people are sometimes surprised how like friends we are. And I'm like, we're both like still dudes. It's just like my comedy's dirty and his comedy's clean. What difference?
Sure.
So like, and I think he's one of the best comics working. You know what I mean? So it's all takes different. I think it's weird when that comic on comic crime of going like, if you're doing comedy just to be funny, and you're get out of the way. I think she says
kind
or
of the
something like
definition of comedy.
First and foremost,
Jay, do you think
it's rule 1, right?
Much more than rape therapy. I think
you just made me think of a reason why I think society gets so offended by stand-up comedians sometimes, because you do have some stand-up comedians and comedians that do a lot more social commentary and stuff, and then so when someone's telling a joke, maybe they're getting confused that they're like, mean it, like it's like Dave Chappelle's special.
The inverse of it. It's
I'm trying to make
this person had something to say when they were being funny, and you said that, so you must mean that.
Yeah. Instead of like, no, this was meant to make people laugh. I don't truly believe that. It's like, I think that's what people sit there and like, he believes.
How much people inject politics in any way into comedy too. I mean, I don't mean comics that are political. That's fine.
Yeah.
Like, people like come, like people haters will come and be like, "You're Trump supporter fans," and I was like, "What does that mean?"
Yeah,
I don't even know what that means. Like maybe some of them are, and I'm sure some of them are, but because I'll never know because I don't. Yeah, I don't want to be the 500th comic who's like, "Look at that orange comb over." Whatever. I'm just like, it's been covered. I get it. It's like, I just don't care that much. I'm like, I'm not a Trump fan for sure. He seems like an idiot by all accounts that I can see and the actions I see. But I'm also like,
who gives a shit?
I just don't know. And the real thing, I always try to ask people to get angry about that and try to make it a political thing. Like in the world that Trump's in, the misogyny and what you're doing, and you're like, what? Like, what is different about your life genuinely? Over the last 3 presidents, other than your level of anger about whatever it is.
Yeah.
Not many people have had many changes.
No.
In fact, the main change that I'm aware of is Obama made me have to get insurance. Obama somehow is costing me $600 a month at one point. Do you know what I mean? Like, and I'm still not, and I'm not even like, fuck Obama for that. I'm like, I don't know. I guess it's the new thing now.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. Who gives a shit?
That's fucking hilarious because that is exactly how we did. We're just like, oh, that's the thing. Oh, okay.
That's the thing now. Yeah.
I don't get mad about it. I'm just like, all right, that's the way we're going.
But Trump just hit he had the nerve with the women. That's what I said. Man, if Harvey Weinstein should hate anybody in the world, it's Donald Trump.
Yeah.
They were like, we can't get Donald Trump, but we're gonna fucking get everybody.
No, I was gonna ask you about people getting offended at your shows, or like, have you ever had any people bring up any social media things that you've done in the past, or any of your old bits or something?
Sure.
And then,
a guy just wrote an article this week. The guy who took Shane Gillis down.
Oh, really?
No shit.
Wrote a whole article about me and my podcasts and all of our people and stuff. I mean, it's just so it's so crazy at this point. In that same article, he's naming because Janine Garofalo, who couldn't be more of a face of liberal.
Yeah.
She's Daria.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? She was like everyone's she's like that thing. And because she associates with us and has done our festival and all that, they're like, and Janine Garofalo stuck up for Louis C.K. or something. But I think she did a podcast where she was like, all right, I think this guy's been raked over the coals. I think he gets it.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? I think he understands it. Like, he's lost a lot. He could still tour, and people are mad about that. But I'm like, some people are not like... Again, I think rape is something that should be taken extremely seriously.
Yeah, of course.
Extremely seriously. And in reading those articles about Louis C.K. when that stuff all came out, I found myself just going what's a weird thing? I wouldn't do it, but I was waiting for one of these articles to be like, and that's when he blocked the door. That's when he wouldn't.
Yeah.
It seemed like everything he did when the girls were like, hey, I'm going to take off. He's like, okay.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? And I'm like, I don't know. So he did it's weird.
Well, it's
weird for sure.
There's a weird pick and choose too of who is paid their debt and who is not. Like I was watching Vic last weekend doing commentary. That seemed to be okay with everybody, right?
Michael Vick.
Yeah.
I know. Yeah, it was funny. Is I did one late night show ever on a network was Fallon before it became Tonight Show.
Gotcha. Yeah.
And the next day, erased from existence off the internet and everything from a Michael Vick joke I did. That was not like...
No shit.
It wasn't even pro Michael Vick. It's a joke being pro Michael Vick. And I'm from Philly, so he was the quarterback at the time. The Roots are the band on the show, so it's a fun thing to connect with them. I go, I'm an Eagles fan. The Roots go nuts. I'm like, that's right, Roots. And I was like, Michael Vick's the quarterback. I know he's a bad, terrible guy for the stuff he did, but he's on the team now, so what am I going to do? Just got to root for him, and I think I said when Michael Vick scores a touchdown, I go if he gets traded, I don't care if he goes back to jail for the rest of his life. But right now, when he scores a touchdown, I'll throw him a dog and let him tear it apart like a werewolf in the end zone.
Right.
And I just got to laugh in the studio. It's like a funny joke, and then it's like the next day, it's like removed and threats. And people threatening my daughter and all kinds of stuff.
Oh, my God. I didn't mean to bring that up. I was just like, it was just funny to me because I was watching it last week and I was
No, but you're absolutely right about that.
He's sitting right there.
I guess it's okay now.
He was fine.
I don't know.
Yeah, I've made this analogy, and tell me if you agree. I was like, all right, everybody's said something to their significant other, their friend, or whatever that's way too far, or like just insanely. You would never want anybody else to hear, but
be offensive, insensitive,
offensive, whatever. But the person knows where you're coming from. They know you don't really think that, but you're saying that to make them laugh because it's so over the top, so ridiculous, right? And then everybody agreed, like, okay, yes, everybody's done that. Whatever. No, I'm glad no one heard me say that. Whatever. But like, what if then that was secretly recorded and then it was put out there, and then you would be like, oh, I'd be like, super embarrassed or whatever. But I'm like, but the intent of why you said it didn't change. Now just people are hearing it, and so
out of context.
Also, form is when you're off and on, though, too. I thought that was an interesting thing. Was like Anthony Cumia.
Yeah.
From Opie and Anthony when he got fired. From,
I remember that.
From that on the thing, it was from racist tweets he put out.
Talking about the lady
after he got into a fight with an argument.
thing.
He got into a fight with a lady, a black lady in Times Square, and then started writing some pretty like racist tweets on the thing, and he got fired. And just literally, if he would just not have done that and go on the radio the next day with the story, you're preaching to the choir. And they understand that you're just angry and something like that. When I talked to him after that, Kumi, I was like, dude, you need like a buddy there and stop going to Twitter like a teenage girl and call up a buddy and say all the racist stuff you want to get off your chest because that person knows you're just being angry right now. And then go on with your life and go back to being not racist, which most people would know you to be. Does that make sense at all?
Yeah, 100%.
Totally does.
If people get you in like a furious moment, like saying like the word,
and don't put it into text.
Man, one of the funniest.
He could have said it on the air and been no problem.
One of the funniest.
I don't know.
Not in that ways.
No. He went too far with what he said.
He
So
did.
I'm not arguing that without a doubt, but I'm just saying like there's just something funny to like. I don't think it was a joke other than like. I mean, it was a joke, but it wasn't like a stage thing. I think it might have been on the radio or something. Someone made a joke about. It's like, man, you can't say the N-word anymore. Like, what am I going to do when I stub my toe? And that makes me laugh so hard because, like, I've done that. I've screamed the N-word after stubbing, and it's just that followed by, like cunt, cocksucker, but because you're just like. Yeah. It's like you want to just yell the angriest things out to the ether. Like, who am I? My table's not an African American. You know what I mean? It's like there's no one to insult. I'm not angry at anybody. It's just the meanest, angriest word. We know, especially as comics, the words that incite and make people's ears perk up.
Of course, I mean? and to me, it's just like it's all about intent. Like your joke about Michael Vick. Like, do you like? I wanted to tell the people that are really angered by this, even if they. I don't even believe that exists. I think just the network freaking out because they're all fucking scared of everything. But I'm like, do you really think Big Jay Oakerson wants
going to bring a dog?
Yeah, wants to see Michael Vick kill an animal in front? Like, do you think he hates dogs? Like, what do you think he's saying?
I would like it though if he was like, yes, that is an accurate statement.
I was thinking about the beheading
why
videos.
did he say it then?
Somebody got young in my career when that first ever beheading video came out. And I was like, I did watch it. It was jarring. Like, I actually had a hard time coming. And then, as benign as that is, like, for anyone to go, it's like, do you know it was a horrible thing? I'm like, yeah. I actually couldn't get through it when it did come out because I was like, I don't want to see this. Is like,
Yes.
But what is the point of getting on stage? I mean, like, it's something I saw. It affected me in some way. I want to make some sort of a comment about it. But it's like, what do you want me to do? It's like, the comic's job is to do that. I'm not a pundit. I'm not a person. If I watch the Michael Jackson documentary, who doesn't acknowledge it's a fucking nightmare for these kids went through?
Of course,
but my thing is to find some humor in that.
Yeah,
exactly.
So what Chappelle's been saying is that, like, I think people lost what their intent is for everything. It's like, comedian's up there, whatever he's saying is
a fact.
His intent is to make
he feels.
It's to make people laugh. I mean,
but they don't think that.
No, I have a trans joke. What I knew I was going to eat shit for in my. Degenerates, the Netflix special.
Yeah.
There's a trans joke in it. The description is literally saying me batting around the idea of hooking up with this girl. After even finding out and thinking about it and going through it, and for the most part, we have trans fans who've reached out who love that, and people in the audience before it happened, and just like, but there's going to be some people who go, and mostly not even trans people, other people going like, do you think it's funny that trans people get murdered in record numbers and whatever? And you're like, why would I think that's funny? That's terrible, but I don't even understand what the correlation is to my joke. It's like nothing in my joke is saying that I think that's a good, positive thing or whatever. I'm making fun of everybody, you know. And someone made that comment recently that I loved. I wish I'd said it, but you know, when they tell you like, way to punch down, you're punching down. It's like, you're calling that down. Do you know what I mean? Like, I'm making like broad swipes at like the world here. It's like, okay, now trans people are gonna get a little bit. At the same time, like, I don't know if everybody who's like crazy can say that I'm for. I don't give a shit what anybody does. I want to be able to make fun of all of it. Does that make sense? So I was saying this earlier. I was like, cut off your dick. Have them make a dick out of your inside pussy. Like, get tits. And if you're stable enough, they decide you can adopt kids, or have. Do you know what I mean? Like, I really don't give a shit. Just be a good person, but I want to be able to shit on everything.
Yeah, I agree, 100%.
It definitely has, and I think it's going to swing back, and it just is a constant thing that our society is going to go through. No,
I don't know. Only because of the social media, man. Social media has given a voice to everybody, and everybody shouldn't have a voice.
But haven't we kind of realized, like, some people just like, I feel like the younger generations, like the trolls don't bother them as much because
they grew up with it.
They are starting to ignore.
You grew up in a war, you know, like you wouldn't hear the planes anymore.
No, but they're growing. I'm telling you, the worst one. If you go like performing at a college now, would be impossible for me.
Yeah.
And like teenage.
Dave Coulier can't even do it.
No, 21-year-old like white girls are the enemy of comedy. They can't wait to be upset about something and have like a purpose to rage for. I mean, we were laughing the other day. Bill Maher pointed that out too. That Rosanna Arquette tweet, and there's a bunch of them, is like white people going like, I've never been more ashamed to be white. I'm so ashamed to be white. I'm so sick that I grew up white and privileged and all this stuff. And like, what are you talking? It's just like a crazy thing to say. You're like, just be a good person.
Yeah.
What do you have to be ashamed to be? It's like, another white person got in trouble for yelling the N-word in a McDonald's at some employee. He goes, so that person's a piece of shit.
Yeah. I never think of it like,
don't blame it on the entire race.
I'm like, oh, here me and my people go again. Like, I don't know this fucking lady.
Also,
screaming the N-word in a Denny's.
Like,
how's that my problem?
It's just some fucking stranger.
This is how white people act. Like, is it? It's how this fucking psycho bitch acts, I guess.
Also, I feel like if I'm like putting myself in like the same group as all white people, then this is like a racist thing, because then it makes me think that like, then I think that everybody should be have accountability for their own race.
Well, I don't
that's a racist thing to think of.
Don't connect me to that.
Yeah, like, I'm not connected to anybody.
We're segregating ourselves.
Me, my family, I don't know.
Leave me the fuck alone.
Whatever everybody else does,
I don't want to do nothing.
That's on them. Everybody judged by the action that they do, and that's it. And that's how everybody should be.
I can't dunk, but some white people can. Does that mean we're all dunkers? We're all high flyers now?
Yeah.
I'm certainly not. Hey, man, thanks so much for your time.
Thank you for having
coming
me,
in
man.
and hanging out. 2 shows tonight. I've been watching the chat room. There's a lot of people snagging tickets. By the way, you're one of the guys that comes into town that, and this has been happening a lot lately, where I get all the messages from friends that want free tickets, and I tell them no. It doesn't work like that. I don't even get free tickets.
Yeah.
Just go buy your tickets. It's reasonably priced, and you will not have a better time. You can head out there. 2 shows tonight.
If you guys would come out at all, I hope we'll make sure we get you guys tickets.
Yeah,
please come out to one of the shows, man.
Would love to.
And Legions of Skanks, you could find that
anywhere you get down. Anywhere you down the
that this
podcast
morning.
from.
Was that a new episode that Artie was on? When was that?
Yeah, 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
He looks great, man.
Yeah, is he?
I mean, it's great as you can look with a nose like that.
Yeah,
but I mean, like.
But he says he's not going to fix it, at least for right now.
He is going to get it fixed, ultimately.
It's a reminder, though, right? Like, he's been kind of using it as a tool.
Doesn't it just seem like if he could just grab it and make it normal himself? It looks like he never batted around the idea of just grabbing it and pulling it out.
Or like blow on your thumb.
Yeah.
I think a good
like block the nostrils and like blow out. It feels like it's a solvable problem. But he is... there's so much good nose in there. He didn't even know.
You could stuff a tissue in there and kind of poof it up like a bra.
I'm always rooting for it. He's such a generous, sweetheart of a guy. But I mean, he got to the point on this last time where the people I know who are even like his... like ride or die, like I believe in Artie's going to get it together. Like we're like, I don't know, man. Like this is just like, but he went away and like he really did the work. I mean, he worked like he had to be a trash man for a while. He was a gas station attendant for a while. So like he went through the real like rehab of it this time, and I think he's clean and he looks good. He looks healthy.
That's awesome.
And it's good. So, yeah, I'm rooting for him, man. So,
I think everybody really is.
Yeah, I mean,
especially if you were a Stern fan, and I think we all were.
Yeah,
I
he's
mean,
a doll. He's just like, he got messy, man. It got real bad.
Yeah.
Also, it's a great rationale to me when, like, I'm eating bad or I'm drinking too much or whatever. Like, and my wife's like, "This is unhealthy. It's gonna kill you." I'm like, "Well, Artie Lang, he's fine."
And then you're like, "Look at this, still got it."
I'm just the human body's tough.
Yeah. I mean, the comics who die. And Artie Lang's still going. You're like, what the fuck, dude?
Oh, yeah. I mean,
that's a tough human.
I have friends that just, like, drank themselves to death with beer. And I'm like, whoa.
Yeah, Artie Lang's just pickled, I guess.
Yeah, I guess so.
Tough human. Jay, thanks so much for
Thank you, guys,
Thank you so much. And, guys, we'll see you on the Friday Free Show.